Hey everybody, Jordan Murphy here. Welcome to the show. Today I am joined with Steve Truitt. He's a performance coach. He's also an award-winning author and motivational speaker. I'm pleased to have him joining me today on the show. Steve, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Jordan.
So let's just jump right in here. Obviously, ROI Catalyst is about speaking to America's entrepreneurs out there, and I consider you to be just that. You wear many hats. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about who you are and your background?
My name is Steve Truitt. I started out as a young man writing. I graduated college with a speech degree, and I just wanted to communicate with the world. And I was fascinated with communication and how one person can affect an entire mass of people, and how entire mass of people in a movement can affect one person. And that's never left me throughout the many jobs that I've had. I've been on radio and TV. I've hosted. But in the last few years, I've really honed my interests and the message that I want to put out there, and it's turned into a wonderful speaking career, performance coaching, and my new book, which is Stop Waiting for Permission.
Well, perfect segue. I was going to ask you just that. First of all, what I get from you is the reason that you do what you do is to affect change in the world. Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. And obviously, what a better way to do that than to put it down, in writing, so that others can share that. So tell me a little bit about your book.
The book is called Stop Waiting for Permission.
Right.
The mantra or motto that I go by is know yourself, don't know yourself. The first no is K-N-O-W.
Right.
The second no is N-O. So if you know who you are, you're not going to be a no to yourself and your possibilities. The book came about as I was starting to begin coaching. I was thinking about going into coaching myself, and a tragedy happened in my life. I found my neighbor dead in his kitchen.
Wow.
After a couple of days of being missing, and it had such a profound impact on me and how I thought people kind of didn't really live their lives the way that they could. And this neighbor, Mel, was a perfect example. He was working for a company 70 hours a week, completely stressed out. He would tell me all the time, my job's killing me, and he was right. And it had such a profound impact on me to realize that, as far as we know, we have this one life, and if we're spending it doing something that we don't like, and we're stressing ourselves out, and we don't really know our full potential, and we aren't going for it, what are we doing? Why are we here? What's the point? Yeah. And so that started me on my journey of writing this book, and I began to interview people that I felt were great examples of people who never took no for an answer and just fought and fought and fought and fought and made a name for themselves. And so I sought out and found these celebrities, people like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right. Maria Shriver, Jenny McCarthy, Gloria Steinem, Burt Rutan, the guy who designed the first private spaceship. And Aaron Ralston, I interviewed him, the gentleman who cut his arm off. The movie 127 Hours it was based on. I interviewed him 4 years ago, long before the movie was ever made.
Yeah.
Just a phenomenal story of someone who not only experienced difficult times, but learned something from it and really found out who he was. That's what really inspires me.
Wow. That's that is an inspired story. That's fantastic. And just to segue mildly, how would you define? Obviously, we're on ROICatalysts.com, and being an entrepreneur, wearing several hats like you do, how would you define ROI, or return on investment?
It's interesting. I think how I would define it would be by making it its opposite. What is your investment toward return? I think that especially in today's life, today's society, and how things are happening. If you look at Twitter and LinkedIn, perfect examples of how people are going from what's in it for me and changing toward what can I do? How do I fit in it?
Yep.
How can I contribute
Yep.
so that there's a greater whole? And so I've seen people changing and the shift of happening, saying, look, it's the John F. Kennedy, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. I think that seems to finally be taking hold here.
Yeah.
And people are saying, how can I put my mark on something, and affect change, and then it will come back to me? And I think that that's where return on investment really happens. You have to invest first.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic point of view. So what would you have, I guess, what piece of advice, I'm sure you have plenty, but what piece of advice would you be able to bestow to a young entrepreneur?
The first thing always is don't give up.
Right.
And I know that seems simple, And I know that it seems easy, but it's not that easy, because luck, looks, opportunities all come and go. These things fade, but persistence, if you are persistent, if you never stop, you keep that dream in your head, and yes, you adjust it as you go. I look at life's journey like flying to Hawaii from California. Yeah. You're never actually headed toward Hawaii. You're always adjusting. You're a little bit too north, so you go south. You're a little too south, you're a little bit... Flying a plane is just like living your life. Yeah. You're constantly adjusting your route until you get there. So, but you always know where you're going. So if you keep that in your mind and you constantly adjust with what happens, some hurdles along the way, you leap over them. Some setbacks, you pick yourself up and you learn. But never give up. Persistence is the key. Yeah,
knowing yourself, not knowing yourself. Your motto, one of my mottos is patience, persistence, and passion. And I think that the idea of being adaptable is what I hear you saying right now. Now, obviously, we're a little bit further down the road. Not too far down the road, but we've been around the block, you and I know. And looking back, you've shared with me some great insights, some great advice that you would give to a young entrepreneur. What would you give to a young Steve Truitt 20 years ago? And would he listen? And would he listen?
Besides, don't date that girl. Would I listen? That's an excellent. I think that's the follow-up is actually a really great question, is would I listen to it? And I'll be honest with you, Jordan, I've often thought about what it would be like to go back in a time machine and talk to myself and say, this, and this. And I think the answer is no, I wouldn't have listened to myself.
Right.
I think if I could go back 20 years and say, listen, this is going to happen. This is the road. It's not been easy for me. It's not been easy for you. It's not been easy for your viewers. Life is challenging. Life is difficult. And if someone told me at the very beginning of this journey that I'm on right now, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a lot of work. You can have a lot of... I might have said, yeah, well, that's for somebody else. And in fact, I have said that. Right. Oh, somebody else might fail, but I'm not going to. So no, I wouldn't have listened to myself. And so therefore, my answer is, I wouldn't say anything to the young me. I would listen. And I think listening is more important than talking to someone or dictating or talking down to them. Yeah. Listening to what their ideas are, seeing if you can maybe nudge them in a different direction. But that's all we really want to have happen anyways, to be heard. And so I wouldn't say anything.
Okay. Well, wise words. I'm not sure if I would have the willpower to not slap myself upside the head, but nonetheless, I hear
wait, I can think of one thing. I would have said I could think of one thing. I would say, don't bet on the Giants in the 1995 Super Bowl,
or invest in Google,
or the 98 Super Bowl.
Yeah,
invest in Google, Microsoft, plastics.
Yeah, right, exactly. So what do you think? We're going to wrap up a little bit here, but what do you think is we talked about adaptability. We've talked about listening. We've talked about what's a common catalyst, you think, for a successful entrepreneur?
Modeling. I think finding someone that inspires you, finding someone that has done it and is 5-10 years ahead of you. It's a changing world, and social media and the internet has changed the way we do business, sure, but it hasn't changed the way we pursue business. Yeah. And I think modeling someone who has been successful is a great way to keep yourself on track. And if you can even find a mentor that can mentor you, that's doing exactly what you want to do, that's the key, because there'll be times when you're not sure, when you have questions, when you want to give up. And yes, you can stay persistent, but if you've got someone like a mentor who can help you and say to you, look, I did it, keep going, keep following, modeling, I think really is a great way to stay on track and keep that vision close to you.
Fantastic. Well, Steve, first of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to sit down with me and to give your perspective, your advice, and also to remind everybody, tell me where can we find your book today?
Today, you can go on Amazon or barnesandnoble.com. The book is called Stop Waiting for Permission by Steve Truitt.
All right. So everybody, run out, stop waiting for permission. Pick it up today. Steve Truitt, again, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Jordan, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You bet.